Welcome to Go Big or Go Broke, where you'll learn the method, madness, and making of impactful millionaires. And now, here's your host with the most, Kathy Karabetsos.
Hey there, podcasters. I'm Kathy Karabetsos, your host, Go Big or Go Broke. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's special guest is hailing the beautiful islands of the Bahamas, Monique Russell, an international inspirational teacher, executive communications coach based in Atlanta, Georgia, who believes in leadership from the inside out. Monique is the founder and managing partner of Clear Communication Solutions, where she teaches effective communication strategies to leaders in a variety of business and government sectors. She's taught thousands of leaders globally in interpersonal and intrapersonal communications, shared the international speaking stage with icons such as Lisa Nichols, and has consulted for government agencies such as Centers for Disease Control, OSHA, and for Fortune 100 companies such as Verizon, Intel, and Equifax. Because of her background, she's frequently sought-after guest on business, local, and international radio shows. She's been quoted and featured in publications as a subject matter expert in the areas of leadership and effective communications in the U.S., United Kingdom, the Bahamas, Namibia, and Jamaica, to name a few. She is the founder and host of Forbes Recommended Leadership Conference, founder of Clear Communications Online Institute, and an advisory board member of LeaderCast, the world's largest one-day leadership conference. Please join me in welcoming to the show my special guest, Monique Russell. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Woo! Good morning. Thank you, Kathy, for having me. So excited. Looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you so much. An absolute pleasure. And I wish you all could see this. And actually, we do record, so we'll post both the video and the audio up on YouTube, but that won't go to our podcast. But anybody who has a chance to check you out, you're amazing, vibrant sunshine. So thank you so much for joining me today. Absolutely beautiful. So happy to have you today. Well, let's just dive right in. And let's talk a little bit about Monique the Lady, who you are, where you came from. Talk to us about you, the heart and soul of the lady that you are. And then we'll talk about how it is that you transitioned into your career.
Okay, so I grew up in the Bahamas. I'm originally from the beautiful islands of the Bahamas and also Nigeria. Amazing. And I am a mom, I'm a wife. And I help leaders and their teams to just have better relationships, positive and productive personal relationships, professional relationships. And it took me, I guess, a while to figure out that was exactly what I wanted to do.
Sure.
I left the Bahamas, was it 1998? I left the Bahamas and I went off to school to Minnesota. And I went to study journalism. So I thought I was going to be all over the world, traveling, covering news stories. You know, that's what I was supposed to do. But it didn't happen like that. And I ended up continuing on. I got my graduate degrees. I got 2 graduate degrees in communications as well. And I was just like trying to get in, you know, apply for jobs here, there, and everywhere. The jobs that I went to school for. And I had a very difficult time. So
not an easy industry to tap into, right?
It is not. And listen, I mean, it's like, you know, it's for, especially on the journalism side, you basically are going to be making nothing, literally nothing, in order to move up. And even when you do move up, people think that journalists make a whole lot of money, but they really don't. Sure. You know, there's a lot of fame that comes with it and notoriety that comes with it. But on the base of everything, you really don't. Sure. So it was hard for me to get in, and I switched to the PR side, and I was trying to get in as well. And it was very challenging. And I also had a son. Like, I had a son when I was in college. I was a teenage mom, and I was looking forward to raising my son. I couldn't wait to get home and read to him and, you know, be there for him. And I know that's kind of the odd or
not for me,
opposite.
not for this lady, not for this one. You are my story reliving. I love it.
Oh my gosh, I'm like, you know what? No, I didn't feel like, I was so embarrassed. I mean, obviously it wasn't planned, you know,
Sure.
Come on. But
you had a beautiful blessing.
I'm telling you, I mean, and he is so amazing. I don't brag about him a lot, but people that are close to our family and that know, you know, my family and my kids, they know exactly how amazing he is. Both of my kids. So yeah.
Is he your only child?
No, I have 2 teenage boys. Excellent. So my eldest is 18 and my youngest is 13, and he thinks that he's going on.
I didn't hear the final of that, but I heard he's going on.
We have 2. He thinks he's going on 32.
Of course. Of course he does. Well, you're blessed with boys. Girls are a whole different challenge, and I have kind of a team of all of the above. So you're blessed. So sweet. And it's really sweet and very heart and beautiful to hear you talk about your boys that way, because that's really at the end of the day why we do what we do, right?
Exactly. I am a firm believer, like being with my family, supporting and connecting my family is a strong core value for me.
Sure.
So if there's anything, any opportunity, project, client, it doesn't matter how huge or how big it is, if it comes along and it's going to encroach on my family, I say no. And I say no without feeling guilty, because I already know that
virtual high five.
Hello, if it encroaches on my family, it's not worth it. It's not fulfilling. I don't feel satisfied.
Totally agree with you. This morning, give you a quick hint. It took me a long time to figure that piece out. I'm a faithful person. I believe that God said, I gave you this family, take care of them first, because I want to save the world. And then he reeled me back in many, many years ago, and it was like, okay, family first. And so I cut out everything, just focus on my family. Business had to come second, third, fourth, and fifth. This morning, I gave my husband a quick kiss goodbye, and I said, I just want you to know that everything I continue to do is, our legacy is for our children. So everything we've touched and helped and positively impact on this earth is our legacy, is really our children. I said, but at the end of the day, what all matters is it's you and me, honey. I love you more than anything else on this planet. And he looked at me like, yeah, right. And I'm like, no, true. Everything that I do is about you. So, 30 years into it, you figure that out. And as much as in love at the very beginning, you go fast forward 30 years and then you fall in love again. And it's a much deeper love, and it's a wiser love. And it's a love where you say, I've done my job and my duty with raising these beautiful humans that God gave us. But now it's all about us. And so when you say that you two become one, we literally are one. It's kind of crazy, and we bicker all the time, but we have such a love affair. That's what it's about. It is about the unbreakable bond of the two humans that are planted together for that reason. Such a beautiful thing. And then, of course, our children. I mean, why have the children if it's not about loving and leaving them the legacy, right?
Oh my God, you're hitting on so many core strings right here, Kathy. Oh my goodness. First of all, kudos and congratulations, because that is not even the norm right now. So many times people are working so hard and so busy that they're just focused on the routine and the monotony of life. And then when the kids are out of the house, you're looking at your spouse like, who are you? Okay, now let's get to know each other. Right. And at least for me, I really feel like it's important for the family. The society is made up of families. And so when our families are whole, our society becomes whole or becomes better or stronger. So we have to take the same focus and energy and passion that we take to our job or take to our business and turn that around and put it into our family. And so I'm just totally a fan. And I think what you said in terms of, having your conflicts and leaning into it. Sometimes people think that, we don't argue at all. And I'm like, that's not a good thing. Yeah. Like,
the better have some good debates if you want to stay together for 3 decades.
You have to, your needs are not being expressed. You're not communicating what's bothering you. That's what's going on. Absolutely. So learning the skill and the tools of embracing conflicts and effective communication with your spouse, the same way, I wrote an article a couple weeks ago that your family is a business. And I said, you have to take that same mindset that you create for your team, the vision, the mission, how you socialize that, how you market that, how you consistently follow up. Maybe the sales might not work this time, but it might work another time. You have to take that same mindset and say, you know what, my family is a business. We need to have an agreement on how we behave, how we handle situations. I have one-on-ones with my boys separately and together, and you definitely need to have that belief so that it is a constant thing. Otherwise, it just becomes reactionary.
Absolutely. And the best return on investment you could ever hope and dream for if you do it right. No question about it. And what is right? We all make mistakes. No question about that too. My kids, 7 of them, some will tell you, oh, we did this and we did that. And the older ones are saying, can't believe what you're allowing there and here. We all change and we grow, right? But I agree with that. I'm the same person today as I was this morning, as I'll be tonight, as I'm on the business field, as I'm on the soccer sideline watching my kids, as I am when I'm watching the World Cup games, as I'm in the public eye, on this podcast, in my company, down the hall, in my daughter's office, whatever it is. When it comes to the home, I'm the same person. sometimes a little bit too much. People are like, you need to kind of leave your things at home. But we are who we are, and we're very fortunate, very blessed. We have our faith. We take that everywhere. It comes through on social. It comes through physically. It's at our company. We believe that we're growing this company for Him, God, and it's not ours, and we're just here to do good with it. And so we try to teach that with our kids and be that with our children and be an example, positive influence, positive contributor. So I love where you're at with your family ideas. And, I wanted to ask a question. You talk a lot, and I think one things that you're passionate about is being a leader at home, which obviously this whole conversation is about. Can you narrow that down a little bit more for us? Like, what does that mean to our audience today? Being a leader at home. Obviously, we know we go to work and we're all leaders in our own right in all of our assets of life, right? But what does that mean to our audience, being a leader at home?
Oh man, I think your example just hit every single aspect of it. It's like, you don't get to put a jacket on. You don't wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going outside. Let me put on my leader jacket and go to work and come off and take that leader jacket off. It's who you are. Yeah. It's who you are right now, kinks and all, imperfections and all. Growth and all.
Perfectly imperfect, right?
That's it. Perfectly imperfect. It's who you are right now, and it's your continuous development. So that's what I always say leadership is, it's currently who you are and your continuous development, because we're always learning, we're always growing. My husband and I have been together for 18 years. And in the beginning, even though I am in the space of communications, even though I've studied communications formally, informally, and I've taught it for over 7 years at the university level, even though I had all the tools, it still was not enough for me to know. Just because you know something, it doesn't mean that you actually apply it. Absolutely. So the first 2 years, I was like, oh my Lord, I think I'm going to kill this man. Like, what in the world? What in the world? Yeah. And then, all my cultural beliefs and things coming from the islands when I was raising my kids. And we talk about this so much with my friends and family, especially from Nigeria and from the Bahamas, those beliefs that are cultural, that influence our relationships, how a man is supposed to behave, how a woman is supposed to behave, what you can and cannot say and get away with. But then it dawned on me that, wow, I need to take the same approach that I take in business when I go into an organization and I give a presentation or a keynote address, take that same approach and implement it at home. And I did. And it was literally a game changer. When I realized, for example, that my 2 boys communicate differently, I would give my oldest child, a checklist. He's the one that needs a checklist. And because before I would tell him, you need to do this, this, and this, and I'm waiting, and 2 hours later we're still talking. Yeah. And so when I gave him the checklist, he'd get right on it. My youngest one, he needs to understand why. Yeah. And coming from the islands, I'm like, you don't need to understand nothing. Do what I say. Just in the beginning. Just in the beginning, until I realized that there was a more effective way, especially if I want to develop a relationship with my children that's long lasting, because if they can't connect with you when they're younger, how are you going to expect them to connect with you when they're older? That's absolutely. And I would rather not have compliance. I would rather not have the little old obedient goody two shoes. And, we've all done things behind our parents' back, no matter how good we were. We've all done things, but I would rather know than have them pretend to be okay.
I love that so much. And you're right. I have 7 kids. So you say we do have some of them that maybe have some qualities of the other. They all do, obviously. But they're so different. And you wouldn't think that birthing 7 individual souls into the earth that they could be so different, but they are. And I have 0 formal credentials, except I have my Master of Mothering, which is 30 years into this gig.
That's good enough right there.
I don't care what kind of stamp goes on that. I'm more certified than you can certify in the halls and walls of any school. But no formality in learning this. This is all trial and error, but understand that each one of them have different needs. And you could say the exact same thing to all 7 souls, and they all take away something different. And one of them maybe took it in a very dramatic fashion, and the other one's like saying, what is wrong with you? This is such powerful and uplifting behavior, and the two can see it's so totally different. So agree totally that understanding the communication with each child and getting to know what makes them operate at their highest performance levels, just being a good listener and understanding that each child has their own unique needs and styles and formats, and oh my gosh, it's a lot of work, but it's well worth it.
It is so worth it. And I think that's just one piece of it. But, for us, we get through understanding that our kids are different because we also learned more about ourselves, like enhancing our own self-awareness, knowing that, okay, we're actually doing something that's just automatic. It's just, in our subconscious that we're doing because we think we should do this and not really recognizing how it's been impacting. So I would say, make sure that you are congruent at home and at work or in business, because, two faces and changing your personality, like you change your clothes, is not sustainable. You're going to just feel like, oh my God, oh my gosh, it's not sustainable. Yeah. So do that, be congruent, make sure that you learn about yourself, learn about the styles and the personalities. No one really goes to school for that. No one has courses for that. No one has, even in business, when we're talking about communications, the communications training is really more about sales, how to communicate so you can get more business, how to build relationships so you can get future clients. It's not really about knowing ourselves and then, to that next level. So I say definitely learn about yourself, increase your self-awareness, your emotional intelligence, and then practice empathy. I see that as one of the biggest challenges that many people face. And it's because we don't really understand what that means or how to do it. Or we feel like when our kid or someone is hurting and we don't think that it's such a big deal, we say, oh, you shouldn't feel like that, not realizing that you're actually invalidating that person's feeling. Totally. So I would say definitely spend some time increasing self-awareness so that you can become a better leader at home, a better spouse, all around.
I think that's true. Asking good questions is a big one. I think finding the time to be present, even, especially with your team, well, at home as well. But when you ask quality questions and allow them their own individual responses, and then pick up on those cues and not forcing your own agenda. Yeah, as parents, we're tired. We get home, we're like, oh, because I said so. No, okay, fine. No, well, let's talk to me. My daughter, my 16-year-old, is great at this. She's like, I just don't understand why it would be a no, ever. Oh
my God.
Because she's a really great kid. I mean, don't get me wrong. She's not perfect. They all make their mistakes. They've all dabbled in things, whatever, whether it's a mouthy moment or whatever. But all the way around a human, beautiful soul. Mm-hmm. And so I almost agree with her. Like, I do trust you. Even though you made a few mistakes along the way, how else do you learn, right? You're a teenager. She's 16, but she's so good. So, of course, when she says something like that, I just can't understand why it would be a no. If you trust me and you love me and I'm good and you say all these things, it's not aligning with what you're telling me, Mom.
Oh, ouch, ouch, Kathy, ouch.
I'm like, yeah, she has some really valid points, but then there's that side of me, that old school side of me that says, more no's than yeses, more no's than yeses. Mm-hmm. Kind of like from the island, keep it in order, keep them close. Mm-hmm. So there's a balance in all that. I don't think it's all one way or the other. And sometimes it's just because I just want you to be around me and I want you to spend time with your family. And it might not be a good enough reason, and that's okay. I'm okay with you not always agreeing with my reasons, but I just want you here today. It would never be around. She's a social butterfly. She'd be 24/7, so I get it yet. But I think that the biggest thing is sometimes as employers in the job, and maybe you could help with from your experience, is that there's not enough leaders, because every manager is a leader in their own right, supervisor and team leads and all that. But I don't think that they take enough time to nurture those relationships. And that's what we're all about. If you want to nurture a relationship, you have to spend time together. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to really come away with a great relationship, they have to be validated. And you can only validate when you're hearing them, really hearing them. Yeah. So I think it's super cool, the work that you're doing. So tell us a little bit about that. What is it specifically that you do in the workforce, and for who?
Yeah, so what I do specifically is focused on only interpersonal, how we get along with ourselves, the emotional intelligence pieces, and how we connect with others. And I deliver my training, or I deliver my offerings in several ways. I go in and I do professional keynote speaking. And so I can share tools and strategies and interactive activities for people to experience what that topic is on communication. So that might be focused on effective listening, where a lot of people might struggle, or a lot of people do struggle with listening, is through distractions or their own judgment, because everything for our own perspective is what's filtering through our own judgment. So we have to really confront and challenge some of those beliefs if we want to have a high performing team. So those are things that I would do. I would go in and I would speak probably on a keynote, or I do half day and full day training workshops. I do my best work with teams that are small, 8 to 10, in those training capacities, simply because when we're talking especially about emotional intelligence, really creating that safe space for them to unpack and experience whatever is bothering them, or bring that training in. My training is very experiential, so it's not just, a data dump. I have a background in instructional design, and I really want people to walk out of an experience with something, at least one thing practical they can do to impact their life. So if it's not a speaking engagement, if it's not a training, half day or full day training, I do provide digital training solutions in my online institute, where I want as many people to be exposed to get that foundational drip, to actually go through the emotional intelligence for the Practical Leader online course. It is so powerful. It's rich. It's filled with nuggets. And then finally, the last method is through one-on-one coaching. And that's very selective. I keep that practice very small and very intimate, so that I can pour a lot into myself. I'm only one person, right? So when I do one-on-one, I keep my practice small at any given time, but we work through challenges, we increase clarity, I provide support and accountability, and my clients achieve, so many great results. Yeah, that's what I do.
You're a busy lady. Yeah, I understand the one-on-one consulting or training, working and coaching with one-on-one. It's probably the most rewarding part of your business, but also it takes the most time. And so you would have to be extremely selective when it came to
Yeah. And that's why so many people, even outside of the one-on-one, let's just talk about the training piece. So many people in the training space, it's a data dump. It's a data dump. We do the training and it's one and done, or very, very rarely do we build in the repetitive. What are we doing 30 days after? Not even 30 days, 2 weeks after, because these days you have a training experience or a learning event, and 72 hours later, it's done. So you cannot cognitively overload anyone who is in a training experience. That's why I prefer half days or 2-hour bursts, so that you get enough information, you have enough practical training, you implement, and then 2 weeks later or 30 days later, we're building in some repetitive consistency. It's hard when you are really focused on helping people go deep or improve their communications from the inside out. It's hard because you have to be patient, you have to spend time, but that's what I'm called to do. And that's why not everyone will take that approach. A lot of people might focus on the outside in, and that there's a place for that.
Of course.
There's definitely a place for that. But when I encounter people and they tell me, they don't know what their purpose is, or they're frustrated, or they want to just be happy, or, what's the next course in life, or, I can't say, well, hey, let's write a presentation skills. Let's do a speech. And then all you need to do is use this posture, use this tone, and, lean over this way and have this type of executive presence. And oh my God, the world, everything will be great.
Right.
Because you might win short term, but in the long term, you're still unfulfilled.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, when the curtain is closed, you're still like, what? Wow. All that extra.
Like with everything else, chiseling away day after day, working hard on performance and goals and yourself. I get it, and I love the work that you're doing. It's brilliant and it's beautiful, and long term should be the game plan, no question about it. And I'm sure that people do want your brilliant self to come in and just have those speaking engagements, because people will take some great things away from you, Monique. It's just amazing. You know, you went big in your life, and I'd like to kind of wind it down with asking you, if you wouldn't mind, think about a couple of practical tips for our audience today, because they're listening and they're saying, okay, I'm listening to Kathy and Monique, two women who have gone big in their lives. They both had children. They didn't give up on their family. As a matter of fact, that's what drives them. How can I, whether they have children or not in our audience today, how can I take some practical, maybe a couple of tips today to think about how I too can go big in my industry, in my gift, with my purpose and my passion? What would you say to our audience today? A couple of practical tips that they could take away to think about going big in their life.
So I would say a couple of things. First, gratitude. Gratitude is so essential. If you just stop for a moment, and what we have, for example, in our house is what we call a gratitude riot. So anyone can call this out at any given point in time, and we know, if we're in the car, if we're in the kitchen, whatever, we know that we're going to start shouting out what we're grateful for. So my youngest one might be like, I'm grateful that, I'm here in the kitchen cooking. We would shout it out and, bounce it off of each other. And before you know, the mood has changed. It's almost like a signal that we all know that something's off with one of us. Like, we're not feeling so hot. So we need to implement a gratitude riot. So I would say gratitude, practice gratitude daily, maybe, multiple times throughout the day, because it is actually a foundational skill for all other skills. So, you use that as a foundational skill, and you can increase your performance in all other skills. The second thing I would say is reflection. What is reflected on and celebrated is something that is going to impact how you show up in the future. So if you don't know how you handle the situation, if you felt like, man, I really should have said this, or I really should have done that, or I should have apologized, or I shouldn't have said yes because I know I'm just saying it out of obligation, take some time to actually reflect on things that have happened and write down how you would have preferred to handle it, so that next time in the future you can choose. We get to choose how to move forward in the future. So I'd say gratitude, reflection, and then, I believe that everyone can benefit from having a therapist at some point in their lives. Sure. There's so many things that are in our subconscious. Even if we had great childhoods, there might be always things that maybe you didn't know, or you kept from your parents, or they didn't know because you didn't tell them, or whatever have you, or just life just threw too many curveballs, and you really don't even know what's hiding in your subconscious. Sure. So I feel like that will be something for you to go through and experience, and bring whatever is holding or influencing you that you cannot see to the surface, so that you can reframe whatever has happened. So we get to, even if you've had a difficult childhood or difficult experiences in the past, or you've been fired, or you've been rejected multiple times, right, and you've developed health issues, or you've gone through a divorce, you have to find a way to bring that to your core and reframe it. Excellent. Change that story, reparent to yourself, reorganize that experience, so that now you have that as a tool in your toolbox to propel you to the future.
I love it. All three are such beautiful gifts today. Thank you for sharing those. Just a quick, gratefulness. I wake up every day, and the first thing I do is I read my Bible. But then the second thing that I do is I go to writing down at least 5 things that I'm grateful for every single day. And it is such an incredible practice, because you cannot wake up and be in a bad mood when all you're doing is talking, thinking, feeling, and living through what I appreciate about life.
Yes, it can't exist. It just doesn't exist.
Cannot
coexist. Yes,
they cannot coexist. So that is absolutely brilliant. And I know a gentleman, and you might want to know him. His name is Tony Grebmeyer, and he is the author of Be Fulfilled Journal. And it's a 12-week basic journal, and you just do that. You just reflect and show gratitude, and you celebrate your wins. And there's one thing every week, and it's absolutely brilliant. So you need to know, Tony. So I just love everything that you said today. And then the final thing that you noted on, as far as therapist, I have not technically used a therapist. To me, it's me and my creator. However, I love the advice, because what I've found out over the years of being in this world for 51 years, almost 52 this year, is that I stopped giving power to anything that I had go wrong in my life. And when it occurred to me that I kept on giving it power, I had my light bulb, my aha moment, and I just stopped. And once I was able to stop giving anything negative any more power, my whole life changed. And so that for that reason, I agree with you. You have to figure out what you're giving to anything negative energy, whether it's any of those attributes and things that happen to you of your life. And it could be horrible things, traumatic things. It could be a divorce. It could be any of those things. It could just be something small that really bothered you when you were a child. But when you stop feeding it with your energy, it goes away.
Oh, it's magical. It's magical. I believe in it so much. I remember one time I went and I had a session with a therapist, and I thought that I was going for a specific issue. I'm like, I got to deal with this. I'm going to deal with this. I sat down. I'm like, this is what's going on. We're going to get to the bottom of this. and so I went, and what do you know? By the second time I went, we were talking about something completely unrelated. And I was like, how did we get here? I mean, I was like, I just
totally moved your whole body, your whole being.
Everything. I'm like, give me some tissue.
It's amazing.
I was